Donald Trump seems to have a thing for attorney general nominees that somehow have a link to purported child sex trafficking. First, it was Matt Gaetz. Yes, remember when he was nominated to be an attorney general? 3 attorney general nominees ago from Todd Blanche. And now Todd Blanche and his links to the Epstein files. And there's a common denominator between Matt Gaetz meet Todd Blanche as Todd Blanche gets ready for his July 15th inquisition concerning his confirmation as attorney general. Groups are arrayed and allied against Todd Blanche ever becoming the attorney general, using his dirty body of work, and particularly what he did at Mar-a-Lago and what he did concerning the Epstein files. And American oversight is that common denominator. They've just filed a new Freedom of Information Act request, a lawsuit against Todd Blanche, the Department of Justice, seeking all documents, all communications, no matter what type of platform or method, all emails, signal chat, WhatsApp chat, you name it, between and involving Todd Blanche, Jeffrey Epstein as a topic or a person, and get this, everybody, Judge Cannon. Oh, yeah. And American Oversight was one of the groups successful in bringing down the Matt Gaetz nomination. And let's see if they can do it again. I cover it all on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. In my hot little hand, I've got the American Oversight complaint. I've reached out to the lawyers to join me for a briefing on Legal AF YouTube as well. And from these small acorns of Freedom of Information Act requests, which seem sort of plain vanilla on their face, mighty oak trees of lawsuits grow. So what are they seeking? They're saying that because, and I'll read it to you in a moment, what Todd Blanche did as Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer, including once he got into the office as the deputy or the attorney general, acting attorney general, blocking the release of the Mar-a-Lago judge through Judge Cannon, the Mar-a-Lago espionage and obstruction of justice report involving Donald Trump and top secret classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. We know it happened. I know they want to rewrite history, but we know that it happened. We saw the search warrant being executed. We saw the boxes of top secret classified documents spilling out of bathrooms and ballrooms, right? And that report for Jack Smith was blocked. So what the complaint is saying is Jack Smith is disqualified from ever being independent. His body of work as criminal defense lawyer is a disqualifier because of what he did once he got into office. He's been pinned with total responsibility day to day with the Epstein files. And we know, and here's where the New York Times reporting, Jonathan Swan and Maggie Haberman are paying dividends again. They're mentioned about the Situation Room, about the conversations involving Todd Blanche to do the cover up at the highest levels of the Trump administration leadership. These are all, according to them, disqualifying events. But it starts with documents. You know, I interviewed Skye Perryman at Democracy Forward, our colleague and friend on Legal AF, about FOIAs, because they do a lot of Freedom of Information Act. She says many of our cases, and they have dozens and dozens and dozens of cases, approaching, I think, 70 or 80 cases, started as a simple request for documents that they are required to keep, these agencies, as government entities. Let me read to you from the complaint, which I'll put up on Legal AF Substack for our paid members. It first outlines all of the ways that Blanche, because of his prior life, is disqualified. It talks about the meeting in the Situation Room. It talks about him, Blanche, volunteering to interview Ghislaine Maxwell and consider her for a pardon, bragging about cleaning house of all of the FBI and Department of Justice that worked on the cases for which he was opposed as a criminal defense lawyer. And then we get to the requests and sit down for these. This starts on page 6. They want all communications sent or received by Blanche containing the following words: Epstein, Maxwell, transfer, Bureau of Prisons, limited immunity, Tallahassee, Florida, and the like. They want to get to the bottom of that interview and her transfer to the cushy place in Texas. But let's keep going. They want all text messages sent and received by Todd Blanche containing the term Epstein by itself. Then we get to special counsel Jack Smith, and more to the point, Judge Aileen Cannon. Right. How many times did Blanche, get them confused sometimes, how many times did Blanche have dialogue, communications, in which they talked about Judge Cannon? Their judge of choice. Could be trying out for the United States Supreme Court for all we know. Based on her rulings, I would think she's in the running. So here's what they asked for. Paragraph 51. All email communications sent or received by Todd Blanche and the following terms. Special counsel, Lago, mishandled Cannon, and I mean Cannon, Judge Cannon, Mar-a-Lago, M-A-L, and the like. And then Jack Smith, Cannon, Volume 2, in any format. And anything related to the Jack Smith report and the rest. Oh, have you ever actually looked at the ingredient list on your dog's food? After that first ingredient, well, good luck. You see, kibble is made using extreme high heat to keep its shelf stable and inexpensive. So brands have to add back synthetic vitamins and minerals in the form of strange chemicals whose names you don't understand and definitely cannot pronounce. Is that really what you want your dog eating? Sundays for Dogs is different. They start with more than 80% all natural meats and then finish with superfoods like kale, ginger, and blueberries, and gently air dries them instead of using high heat. Sundays doesn't look or smell like dog food. It looks like high quality, human grade jerky. No fillers, no nutritional blends, no chemicals, just simple, complete nutrition. Founded by Dr. Tori Waxman, Sundays was created to meet her high standards as a veterinarian and as a dog parent. And the best part, Sundays requires no fridge, no freezer, no prep, no mess. You get the quality of a home-cooked meal with the scoop and serve ease of kibble. It's what dog food should have been all along. Over 100,000 dogs are eating Sundays, and the reviews speak for themselves, especially from owners of picky eaters who had never seen their dog get this excited about mealtime before, like my Lily. Make the switch to Sundays. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/legalaf50 and get 50% off your first order. Or you can use code legalaf50 at checkout. That's 50% off your first order at sundaysfordogs.com/legalaf50. One more time, sundaysfordogs.com/legalaf50, or use code legalaf50 at checkout. Now, some people might think, well, it's just an information request. This is going to end up as a lawsuit. This is how American Oversight originally started. They started as a request about Matt Gaetz. See, some people forget, I don't, that Todd Blanche he's been the bridesmaid like 3 times and never the bride until now for the top job that he's always wanted. Coming out of the election, the reporting that we did is that the transition committee for Donald Trump let it leak, probably through Boris Epstein, that Aileen Cannon was the top candidate to be the Attorney General. There was actually a organizational chart that came out. Aileen Cannon on top, then Todd Blanche, then Emil Bovey. Emil Bovey, who's now in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and Blanche are right, but Cannon didn't take the job or whatever, and that became Matt Gaetz' nomination. Then Matt Gaetz gets embroiled, the congressperson from Florida, in a child sex trafficking scandal investigated by the House Ethics Committee. He resigned in disgrace to cut off the jurisdiction of that committee, and through the lawsuits like the one filed by American Oversight, never made it to his nomination hearing, got pulled. Okay, time for Todd Blanche now, right? No, Pam Bondi, another Florida nut, came out of the Attorney General's office. She gets nominated, and again, Todd Blanche, the number 2. Then she gets fired, and then finally, Todd Blanche, almost 2 years in the administration. How about me now, boss? I'll do whatever you say. I'll grovel how low do you want me to grovel? And I'll completely compromise the independence of the Justice Department. Even Pam Bondi talked a good game and said to her during her confirmation hearing that she was in favor of the independence of the Department of Justice, not Todd Blanche. He blows kisses to Donald Trump and says, we don't need any independence between the parties. It's a good thing that the Department of Justice is not independent. Now, all these things about Epstein and Blanche and the like are all coming to a head before the July 15th confirmation hearing. I interviewed somebody else that's important to this process, who's Katie Fang, our friend on the MeidasTouch network, who's got her own lawsuit going to a hearing on the 30th next week, 30th of June, in front of Judge Emmett Sullivan. If we can do the audio feed for it on Legal AF, we will. And her case is about her seeking all of the remainder of the Epstein files, all the unredacted, all the ones that are missing, all the foreign language, all the things about Donald Trump now, right? And started, I think, as a Freedom of Information Act request. And I interviewed Katie about her lawsuit. Here's what she had to say. On your end, you've got Judge Emmett Sullivan, right?
Yeah.
For your case, which is
He's great.
All right, that's all. Good night, everybody. That's all.
Yeah.
That's a good pull, as we say. That's a good judge pull for you. But I'm looking through your papers, and we'll put them up on Legal AF Substack as well. Yeah. You've got 37 pages where you detail, all of the publicly known facts about Epstein, about the victims and survivors, things that you've been able to uncover, and then, the known unknowns that they should be disclosing. Could be another 3 million pages for all we know. It's not the entirety of the executive branch or the entirety of the executive branch repository of documents. And for you, if you could write with your lawyers, which you will, the proposed order that you want the judge to issue, what is it for our audience? What is it that you want the judge to do with a stroke of a pen?
In the immediate sense, the granting of my motion for preliminary injunction, which would force the Department of Justice to address some of the most egregious violations on the face of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. One example that has escaped everybody's notice that we've brought up is the fact that Blanche admitted at the end of January that they never even bothered to translate the foreign language documents, which is just mind-boggling because, as you said, this is a multi-decade international sex trafficking ring. So what is the excuse for them not doing it? He said it wasn't practicable. Whatever. The point is, I would like the judge to immediately grant the PI and give me access to illegally redacted names, email addresses, the names of the co-defendants. I also would like the FBI interview notes for the Donald Trump alleger, the accuser. She was, alleged to have only been 13 years old when she was sexually battered and physically abused by Donald Trump. And
now there's a series of things that have been happening that are all terrible for Todd Blanche and should be used by senators when they cross-examine him to within an inch of his professional life on the 15th of July. You've got judges in Florida looking at whether there's been fraud on the court perpetrated by Todd Blanche and his client, Donald Trump, about the anti-weaponization fund. Judges in the Eastern District of Virginia who just got confirmation effectively that the weaponization fund is the product of an illegal deal, an unconstitutional deal. You've got judges up in Chicago who are strongly considering appointing special prosecutors to go after Todd Blanche and Donald Trump for their misconduct. You've got vindictive prosecution motions being granted to dismiss indictments against Kilmer Abrego because of Todd Blanche. You've got lawyers trying to explore the link between Todd Blanche and abusive behavior in the U.S. attorney's offices. And these are things he's going to have to answer for. I interviewed Danny Bensky, a very vocal and powerful leader of the Epstein survivors, about Todd Blanche and her ever getting justice and his qualifications as an attorney general. And here's what she had to say. Play the clip.
And so when you have somebody like Todd Blanche at the helm of the DOJ, it's hugely problematic, right? Like, he has the president's best interest. He does not have the American people's best interest at heart. And he's proven that. He was in that Situation Room. He needs to be called in and questioned. He needs to be in front of the Oversight Committee now to answer, how, like, we also know that he was responsible for so many botched redactions and how this rollout even happened. And botched is like an understatement, by the way. But he's responsible for a lot of this. I mean, Bondi, I'm not letting her off the hook. She definitely had something to do with this too. But we know that Todd Blanche had a lot to do with this, and he moved Ghislaine Maxwell. So, like, there's so many things here that come back to Blanche. And now he is the nomination. And that's like, he's so unfit to be the acting attorney general of our country. I can't even, my brain, words fail me.
These are all things that are coming to bear now, just in time, in the timing could not be more exquisite, against Todd Blanche. We need to follow it. What happens with Katie Fang's lawsuit? What happens with the American Oversight Committee the American Oversight lawsuit? The links between Blanche and the Epstein debacle, Blanche and Judge Cannon. We need this information now. Here's what the director of the American Oversight had to say about the filing. Before the Senate decides whether to confirm Todd Blanche as Attorney General, senators and the American people alike deserve a clear-eyed understanding of how he has used the extraordinary power entrusted to him at the Justice Department. His nomination raises serious questions about whether someone who served as President Trump's personal criminal defense attorney can independently lead the Justice Department. The records we are seeking could help answer those questions, including about his role in matters involving Epstein, Maxwell, and the handling of Special Counsel Smith's investigations, issues that go directly to public confidence in the integrity and independence of the Justice Department. Senators should not be asked to cast a vote on a nomination of this magnitude without access to the fullest record possible. And so we'll have to see what judge gets assigned here. I'll continue to follow it. If you want to read the complaint for yourself, do that on Legal AF Substack. Until my next report, this is Michael Popok.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.